G'day. I wanted to talk to you today about playing younger, stronger, faster players. These days, at my age, that literally seems like everyone I play. I wanted to go over 5 things that I've added into my game over the years that helps me to try and compete. Tip number 1, the serve. Now this one has changed over the years. When I was younger, I had a fairly big serve, or at least I thought I did, and my second serve had a heap of kick. These days, because I'm not as strong as I used to be, that I'm older, not as flexible, I've had to adjust it. So one of the first things I try and do with my serve is vary the pace. This one can really put them out of the rhythm. Once they start to get into a rhythm on my serve, I'm in trouble. I've got to keep them guessing, moving, adjusting, the whole thing. So what I try and do is I might do a 3/4 first serve, even a really slow first serve, just sometimes to make them think about what I'm going to do next. It puts them off balance. The second thing I try and add into my serve is spin. Now again, I used to do a fairly big kick serve when I was younger, but these days the back doesn't do that. So I've got to try and add in some sliders out wide, some kickers to even down the middle with a little bit of kick. That can make a big difference. Keeps them off balance, doesn't get them into a rhythm, because once they get into a rhythm, they own it. Now the third one, I probably should have concentrated on a lot more when I was younger, which is placement. And I know you probably think I'm dirty, but at my age, this is important. If I do any of those serves, whether it's a first serve, a kick serve, a slider serve, if I don't place it, I'm in trouble. I try not to do a serve to the same spot twice, or at least I try not to unless it's working for whatever reason. But this is one of the most important things. Try and keep the variation going. Try and keep them off balance so that they don't get into a rhythm and don't control the point. Tip number 2, my return of serve. This one has changed a lot over the years. Like when I was younger, my coaches would get me stand up on the return of serve, get the ball back, use their pace, short little backswing, follow through, get into the point and control the point. Unfortunately, but if I do that now, I don't seem to react as quickly as I used to. So I end up floating the ball or dropping it short. And then because I'm standing in on the baseline, I tend to be in no man's land and I'm in a whole world of pain for the next shot. Now what I've tried to do is take a couple of steps back and take a full cut at the ball where I can. This is important when it comes to giving me that time to see where the serve's going. And the second thing also is that if I do take a full swing at the shot, I can get myself back to the middle of the court and I feel like I've got a bit of control. Important, standing back on a return of serve, this is what I believe, is don't be defensive with it. Even if you're chipping the ball back and floating the ball back deep, do it with purpose. Otherwise, they're going to see that you're going to be doing that. They're going to maybe move inside the baseline and take the ball early, or they're going to even come into the net because the ball's going to be floating back and they'll put the ball away. You want to try and be offensive, attack the shot, swing big, slice hard, and get the ball back as deep as you can. Tip number 3, the slice backhand. Now, this isn't a popular shot or as popular shot these days as it was a few years ago. This gets me out of a lot of trouble. One of the main ones obviously is defense. When I'm in trouble and the guy's putting me into the corners, I can get over there, I can sort of step with the shot, slice the ball back, whether it's a floater or a bit more of a cut through the ball, get it deep, gives me that bit of extra time to get back to the centre of the court and maybe have an opportunity to be back in the point. The other great thing about this one is if I get a slice back and I try and tack it as much as I can, I don't want it to be just a get back into the point all the time. If I'm aggressive with the shot, I find that I can get the ball deep, gets through low, and it does surprise these guys because they're not used to playing against a slice backhand all the time. The other thing I try and do with the slice backhand is sometimes, and this probably sounds a bit weird, is do a nice slice, get it low, but drop it short. When you're playing against a good slice backhand that's dropped short, it's very difficult to not only get across to the shot and forward, but also to get it up and over and down and back into the court on your shot. So this is something I definitely try and do. It does give me, again, a couple of free points, and that's what I need in my matches. Tip number 4, the sneak attack. This is one that I've had to learn to use quite a fair bit, especially when I know players are struggling to get over to a shot. They might end up having to do something that they technically wouldn't do. So say, for example, they had a two-handed backhand and they've decided they had to go to a one-hander because it's out of their reach. Or even if they're doing a forehand and I notice that they're having to either chip it back, do the squash get back, or even just the continental forehand so that they can just get the ball back up high and get back into the point. And trying to be aware of their situation, I'll move into the court. Whether it's a short reply that I'm going to hit a forehand and then come into the net, or whether I'm going to actually move towards the net. Even though when I hit the volley, because I've moved late, I'm going to be a bit further back from the net, this still helps put pressure on them and they feel like they have to come up with a good shot. And a lot of times they'll miss. Sometimes they might hit a good shot, but it forces them to be outside of what they would normally do. They're not in control, and that's something that's important, especially at my age, that I have a little bit of control on a few things, otherwise I'm in trouble. Tip number 5, breathing. What? This is a bit of a weird one, but breathing is definitely high up on my priority, especially when I'm playing competition. If I'm playing competition, I'm nervous, a bit anxious, sweaty palms, the heart rate's going fast. Because what happens is that because I'm not as fit as I used to be, I get to the end of maybe the first set, sadly, or even if I'm going okay, maybe halfway through the second set, and I am run out of steam. I have no energy. What I try and do is just focus a little bit on breathing, just breathing calmly, trying to get the heart rate down, just taking those nice deep breaths. It really helps with my concentration and focus as well, so that I'm ready for that next shot. Do this for the whole match, that's fantastic, but especially the first half an hour of the match. This is something that if you do, it can actually help you out in the long run. You get into that second set or third set, if you're in that third set and you're playing a full third set, it just gives you that bit of extra energy and you don't feel so wasted by the time you get to that third set. It's a terrible feeling when you have that, when you know that you're in trouble and you've got no fitness. Well, especially here in Australia where it can get up to like 37 degrees when you're playing tennis, and that is tough conditions. So if you can concentrate early on in your match with the breathing and the heart rate down, I find that I definitely play longer matches at a higher quality. Well, they're my 5 tips on what I try to do to beat some of these younger, stronger, faster players. Let me know what you do. I'd love to hear in the comments below on anything that you tend to change up in your game to try and beat these guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you can. Grip it and rip it, and I'll see you next time.